travel was not guaranteed on how you were going. You would probably get into a bus or a train, a general compartment. Even when you win a tournament, you would hold your trophy and sit in a train somewhere and then come on a general compartment or a bus or whatever. There are pros and cons from there, and from then and now. It has come a long way.
India's run in this World Cup has been kind of mixed, right? Like they had back-to-back wins and they had some tough losses. What's your sense of what's working for this team right now?
If the team continues the way it has, with the team combinations of five batters, five bowlers, I think it'll be difficult. Pakistan played really well yesterday. You put one single tweet or a post praising Pakistan, and then there's so many people who come and hound you saying, how dare you say that?
The Indian women's cricket team has had a mixed start to the World Cup. Wins against Sri Lanka and Pakistan showed their depth and grit, but back-to-back defeats to South Africa and Australia exposed cracks in both batting and bowling. Coming into the tournament, India was considered one of the favourites, with Smriti Mandhana having had a stellar year. But she struggled in the first three matches, finding form only against Australia last Sunday. Pratika Rawal impressed with her consistency, while Richa Ghosh and Amanjot Kaur provided firepower lower down. Deepti Sharma, Sneh Rana and youngsters like Kranti Gaur and Sri Charani have put in commendable performances with both the bat and the ball. But ahead lie crucial matches against England, who hasn't lost a single match yet. And of course, there's New Zealand and Bangladesh. Bangladesh are also no pushovers. India has talent, but can they turn lessons from these early games into victory when it really counts? To give us a sense of what's happening in the stadium and behind the scenes, we're joined by Anirudh Velamuri. He's been reporting live from the stands for the Hindu, capturing the tension, strategies, and the energy that fans can only see on TV. Can India bounce back and make a mark in this World Cup? Welcome, Anirudh, to In Focus.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Anirudh, it's kind of, I'd like to go back into the past and talk about this like irony regarding the Women's World Cup, which incidentally came even before the Men's World Cup back in 1973. And yet men's cricket has raced so far ahead that it has become the default version of the sport. How much has the women's game really changed in skill, in terms of its culture, in terms of its popularity? And are there still old struggles that linger underneath?
As you've pointed out, yes, the Women's World Cup started 2 years before the men's, but it has come a huge distance since then. It's still not perfect, but it has come a long way. So you take the Indian context, for example, and you speak with yesteryear greats like your Sandhya Agarwal, Shanta Ramaswamy, Rangaswamy, and then Shubhangi. They will tell you exactly how bad the situation was for you to appreciate how good the situation is right now. For example, there was no proper remuneration. Travel was not guaranteed on how you were going. You would probably get into a bus or a train, a general compartment. Even when you win a tournament, you would hold your trophy and sit in a train somewhere and then come on a general compartment or a bus or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not like it increased greatly very quickly, because Mithali Raj, the former India skipper, in a very recent interview mentioned that as early as I think around 2005 in the World Cup, when they won a couple of matches, they were paid about 1,000 rupees per match.
My God. Huh.
And when they used to go travel, the accommodation was not very great. Like you would sleep in dormitories or schools and share everything else. But then at the same time, she would also tell you that also helped them in team bonding and everything else. Nowadays, players travel, they fly everywhere. They have their own rooms and the private spaces to, mentally recharge or whatever.
Right.
There are pros and cons from there, and from then and now. It has come a long way. There are central contracts now, which is pretty good. This equal match fee for men and women.
Right.
But it's still not where it can be, especially when you look at countries like Australia and England.
Right. And just for some context, when you were talking about Shubhangi, you are basically talking about Shubhangi Kulkarni, who is was a former Indian cricketer, right? And Shanta Rangaswamy was the first captain of the Indian women's cricket team.
Yes, Sandhya Agarwal, also a former captain. She held the record for the highest score for 189 or 190 for a while.
Can you also tell us a little bit? In fact, my husband was surprised when I kind of gave him all this trivia, but I'll let you explain it. Can you tell us a little bit about how the sport itself technically is different from the men's ODI in terms of like the weight of the ball, for instance, or the length of the boundary and things like that? How are those things just for people to understand, some of the technical differences?
The one big difference when you watch men's and women's cricket, you'll notice is that the boundary rope is brought well in. So
Right.
your distance to the boundary is a lot more in men's cricket than in women's cricket.
Yeah.
And it's very noticeable, especially when you are sitting in the same stadium where you're covering both men and women. So in the men's, you will see the boundary rope just right in front of the fence that separates the ground from the fans. But here you have enough space where they drive the super stopper all around the stadium. So that is one huge difference. The other big difference is just in terms of player skill, to be honest, because the power with which the men can play, for all said and done, is a little more than women. But to be fair, there have been women over the years who've shown that they can smash the ball as hard as.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more because I have been watching some of these matches and, frankly, the way they are hitting the ball and then the way they're fielding as well is, I frankly didn't see much of a difference. But is the weight of the ball also different?
Yes, it's slightly lesser. It is to accommodate the differences in the physical differences between men and women, the hand size and everything else.
Got it.
So it's not like it's hugely smaller or something, but unless you are well versed in cricket and you play both men's and women's, you will not know the difference when you see it on TV at least.
Yes, that's why my husband was surprised. He was like, "Oh, really?" Because we were watching the highlights together, and I just kind of threw this fact to him, and he was surprised. Now, coming back to the World Cup, can you tell us a little bit about the teams that are dominating the World Cup, which in this case is Australia and England? But South Africa, New Zealand, and even Bangladesh seem to be pushing pretty hard. So, who are the real contenders here, and how does India fare?
So, as with every World Cup in women's cricket, Australia is the dominant side. They are the 7-time champions. They are the defending champions. Australia is a team which where form doesn't matter when it comes to World Cups.
Really? What do you mean by that?
They might have the most horrible few months heading into a World Cup, but somehow when the World Cup comes up, they are meant to play the big matches. They have an incredible record. They have not lost a match in a World Cup for a long, long time. Their squad depth is incredible. You have your number 9, number 10, number 11 person in the squad who can come out and bat and score a half century also. At the same time, the number of some of the batters, they're good all-rounders. So the number of bowling options they have, they can adjust to any pitch condition, which is why if you see the so-called subcontinental condition where spin plays a big role and everything else, it doesn't really affect them. Funnily, speaking of Australia, their last defeat in the World Cup came in 2017, and that too to India, where Harmanpreet Kaur scored that famous 171. So Australia are well and truly above everybody else. They would have won all 4 matches if not for their match in Sri Lanka getting washed out. So they had to share points.
Right. And when you were talking about the pitches in the subcontinent, which you are kind of giving as an example of their skill of being able to adapt, you're basically talking about how our pitches are suitable for spinners and that it makes it tougher for batters, right?
Yes. The ball spins a little bit more on subcontinental pitches. They are spin friendly, which is why you see the subcontinent produce good spinners from your R. Ashwin to Muralidharan. So that is one of the strengths of subcontinental pitches, and which is what teams are usually wary of when they come to India or Pakistan or Sri Lanka, where the ball turns a lot more.
So I was watching a bit of a few of the interviews and interactions before our interaction today, and one of the interviews I was watching was between Harmanpreet and Healy, who is the captain of the Australian team, Harmanpreet Kaur being the captain of the Indian team. And the banter and their rivalry and the way they speak and they talk. For instance, Harmanpreet was talking about how Healy is so chatty, who's also the wicketkeeper of the Australian team, apart from being the captain, that she's very chatty behind the stumps. Do you think the kind of rivalry that exists in women's cricket is kind of different from the rivalry in men's cricket? I also read somewhere that there is far less sledging on the field. But you tell me, you've been on the ground and watching everything.
I mean, I wouldn't. Okay, there might be lesser sledging, but far less is, I would say, the wrong characterization. There is plenty of chatter, especially when you are at the stadium and watching matches.
Yeah.
And even the smaller teams are not afraid. Like in men's cricket, at least the smaller teams think twice before saying something. Take the World Cup for the example. You have Pakistan and Bangladesh, who are the so-called weaker teams. They have absolutely no problem in speaking their mind. Even South Africans, they speak a lot. Some of them even speak to themselves. Like, for example, you have your Nadine de Klerk, who scored the winning runs against India.
Okay.
She keeps shouting at herself, cursing herself, saying, "What are you doing? Why can't you play this better?" So I wouldn't say it is less chattier. It is a lot more interesting. Maybe not as heated as it gets in men's cricket. But yeah, it's still very much prevalent.
And what about the Bangladeshi captain, Nigar Sultana, that you were talking about? Curious to know about her.
Yeah, so she does not hold back when she's talking with her players also. If you go on social media, there are people who make your memes from what she does, what she says. She is very animated on the field. She is somebody that if you are in the stadium watching a match and the match is going in a dull manner, keep an eye on her always, and she always entertains you. She's very busy directing the bowlers, the fielders, and then giving the batters a stare. She's like, it's like, there's an orchestra and she's the conductor.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that's a nice analogy. Now, India's run in this World Cup has been kind of mixed, right? Like they had back-to-back wins against Pakistan and also Sri Lanka. And they had some tough losses. What's your sense of what's your sense of what's working for this team right now, and what's holding them back?
The one thing that has worked very well for India in this tournament is your lower middle order. The top order the batting order has failed to deliver. For all your Smriti Mandhana, Harleen Pratika, Harmanpreet, they have, apart from the last match against Australia, they have failed to deliver. But then it hasn't really stung India because you have your players like Amanjot, Sneha Rana, Richa Ghosh, who scored that 94 against South Africa. They have
Who's also a wicket keeper.
Yeah. Yes. So they have done well to help India post competitive totals. So that is one thing that has worked very well. They have been putting in exceptional work with the bat, a lot more because the top order has failed.
Right.
So that has been working very well. Now, what has not worked, especially in terms of batting, like I mentioned earlier, is the top order's failures. And it is something that has been a talking point among journalists also when we are out covering the matches, because the one big thing is the number of dot balls they're playing.
What does that mean?
A dot ball means you don't score a run in the ball.
Right.
So the number of such balls is on an average about 50% of the innings for the first 4 matches.
It's crazy.
Which is a lot. And the top 5 have their dot ball percentage is more than 50, all of them. So that, while yes, it is not T20 cricket and you can take your time to, settle in and everything else, it's still not, something that's great, especially on batting pitches.
And also it's home ground, right? In many cases, right? Even though I guess this is, I think, the first World Cup where 2 countries are co-hosting it, in this case, Sri Lanka and India, right?
Yes. Talking about India only, the other issue is the bowling options. And funnily, after the Australia match, where India scored 330 and Australia chased it down, it was the first match where the Indian top order has properly contributed in this tournament. But the problem for India then is that the lower order that came just went slam bang and lost wickets, and they could have scored about 30-40 more had they just stayed focused. So Amol Mazumdar, who came after the coach who came after the match for the press conference, he was very directly asked that lower order batters, when they come out, they seem to be swinging the bat at will. Are you actually helping them like plan their innings, or are they just coming and doing what they wish? That was the kind of tone that he had to face in the press conference. Also because it was very evident that India were a few runs short. The batting hasn't really clicked. The other big issue, which everybody is talking about, is the bowling combination. Now, India is going with 5 bowlers, which limits your opportunities when the wicket is behaving a bit differently. So when you need, when there's dew and the ball is, you're not able to grip the ball as much, you need more options. Every other side, for example, your Australia, your England, your New Zealand, they have 5 bowlers, and then they have at least 2 or 3 other options. Your all-rounders who can chip in very well with the ball. Yeah. So in this case, in India's case, Harmanpreet and Pratika Rawal have been forced to, bowl. Harmanpreet, if I'm not wrong, did not bowl for like more than a year before she bowled in this tournament.
Okay.
So that is
really a backup of a backup is what they're having.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if you look at, since you were talking about, other teams, other players, talk to us a little bit about, how are other teams? Are there any interesting players? For example, I think the Pakistani team, I saw a couple of fast bowlers there, Fatima, for instance. Could you talk about other teams and who have been players that have been very fascinating, interesting, colorful, who have really kind of entertained the audiences and kind of really played great cricket?
A lot of players have played great cricket. It has majorly been all-rounders this tournament, funnily. A lot of teams, their top orders have failed to get going this tournament. That is something that will require a whole different podcast of its own. But take, for example, South Africa, Nadine de Klerk. She's the one who scored that whirlwind knock against India and won them the match.
Right.
And then 2 days later against Bangladesh were this close to pulling off an upset. And then she took the match away from them. She is a very interesting, very funny character. She's
the one you were saying who talks to herself, right?
Yes. So she has no problem. So after the India match, if I'm not wrong, she was the one who came for the press conference. And then she very easily laid out the team's plan against India, saying India has good spinners like the young Sri Charani. So they said our plan was to navigate the spinners and go against the pacers, which is exactly what they did. So
this is before the match.
This is after the match.
After the match.
Even after the match, teams are usually reluctant to lay down their strategies. One, because it might come to bite them later in the tournament in case the teams face off in the finals. And also they don't want to give other teams an idea of how to play against India because they need India to take points of other teams for them to do better. But she was very candid in saying this. And exactly before that, Richa Ghosh, who came for the India press conference, said the same thing. There was one over where Nadine de Klerk hit 2 6s and a 4, and that completely changed the momentum, and South Africa were on course to victory after that. And then in Sri Lanka, funnily, they're playing 5 of their league matches there, so the Indian fans are not able to see her in person here. But she's a very, very, very entertaining character, and she is the veteran, 36-37 right now, and the stalwart of Sri Lankan women's cricket right now.
This is the name, you didn't mention the name.
Chamari Athapaththu.
Okay, Chamari Athapaththu.
The local crowd love her. She gets so much support from them. She doesn't have to be playing well. She just has to be on the field.
Right.
Your fans coming up to stadium with like shirts painted with some message to her or placards for her.
Right. What is it about her that's making it so interesting for the audience?
She has for several years now carried Sri Lankan cricket on her shoulders.
Right.
She is good, and she's one of those Sri Lankans who plays in franchisee cricket across the world.
Okay.
So she gets better. That's one of the reasons why she's gotten better at her game. She's a very good batter. She can swing the bat very, very well.
She's pretty aggressive too, right?
Yes. she's a very good spinner.
Oh, wow.
She's one of those players who does not hold back in her thoughts. You know, like if she sees bad conditions, she will talk to the press and say, yes, there were bad conditions. We need better. Women's cricket deserves better. Like what you had Dhoni in Indian cricket earlier in his career when he would come single-handedly change games on his own. Exactly, Chamari Athapaththu. When you talk about Pakistan, there's Fatima Sana.
Yeah.
One of the young captains in the World Cup this time.
Yeah, she's pretty young, no? How old is she?
I think she's 23, 24.
Right.
So she is a very vocal fan of Australian great Ellyse Perry. Last year during the T20 World Cup that happened in UAE, Pakistan did not do well, but sadly for her, she lost her father midway to the tournament. She went back home. She finished whatever she had to do, and then she came back and played for Pakistan. Even though at that point, by the time she came back, it didn't really matter. It was just a game that Pakistan played because they're in the tournament. They were out of the knockouts. It's not like she was needed there, but she came back. If you have a captain like that who's giving their all to a team, in a country like Pakistan where women's cricket is not really where it can be, gives the team also a lot of morale.
Right. And I was just reading about Chamari Athapaththu. I understand she's also pretty humble and kind of openly credits her mentors. And, in that sense, she's been quite a role model for the young people who are obviously that's the reason they seem to be her fan.
Like I said, there are a lot of facets for which you can, say I'm a fan of Chamari. Yeah. If you're talking about purely cricket, sure, there's that. Yeah. If you're talking about how well she interacts with the youngsters in the team, like you speak with a lot of youngsters in the team or people who have had the chance to meet her in passing, they talk about how great she is with them. It does not feel like you are talking with somebody who's right now the biggest thing in Sri Lankan women's cricket.
Now, coming back to India, what do you think we need to do now? I mean, there are a couple of matches coming up, one with England. Yes. Which has not lost a single match. Bangladesh, we have to play against Bangladesh, and also against New Zealand. Yeah, New Zealand, England, and Bangladesh, the three teams. So tell us about what's in store. Can we really kind of bounce back, or is it really going to be tough?
If the team continues the way it has with the team combinations of five batters, five bowlers, I think it'll be difficult. Yes, England is unbeaten, but their washout against Pakistan in Colombo, they were like 70 for five or like by 85 for 7 wickets or something like that.
So yeah, that match was abandoned, right?
The match was abandoned. They were really in a spot of bother, and Pakistan played very well in that match. They could have been coming into this match on the back of a defeat, in all honesty, but then they took 1 point. But that said, coming to India, if they need, so the coach and the captain need to sit down and say, this is not working for us. Let's try something new or something different before it gets too late.
Yeah.
For example, you need to, like I spoke before, you need to bring in a sixth bowler. Okay.
Right.
Somebody like a Radha Yadav. They have been using her as a substitute for fielding and everything else, but why not go the full distance? Bring her into the team.
And she's taken a couple of wickets, right? Whenever she's been brought in, or how has her performance been?
Yeah, she's done well. Like I said, she's somebody who's also like plays well with the bat and ball. So she is somebody who can deliver on both sides. So even if you remove a specialist batter in place of her, it's not like she is going to make India's batting all that weaker.
Got it.
So and the other thing that helps India, if they remove one specialist batter in place of like an all-rounder or somebody like Radha Yadav, is that your players like Jemima, who's not done that well this tournament, she can come a little higher up the order.
Right.
Okay. So that will also give her time to settle in and assess the conditions and get going. The team combination is the main thing. But that said, England has been vulnerable. Bangladesh almost caused an upset against them. They were like 90 or 80 something for 5 wickets. That somehow recovered. Beth Mooney scored a century, I think, in that match, if I'm not wrong. So, yeah, anyway. So, England has vulnerabilities. If you win that match, New Zealand is a team that India can face off and expect to win, but lose against England, and the permutation and combination gets a little tricky. Also, with rain playing a part in the tournament, like
Yes.
Colombo matches back to back, they've been washouts. Even in Vizag, the match against South Africa, which I was here for, it started about an hour late.
Because of the rains.
Yeah, the conditions were so bad, the ground was so covered with that we were expecting a washout.
With water, yeah.
Yes,
Now,
and it's been raining in Mumbai also, where India has the next
really, it's still continuing to rain. Oh my God.
on and off.
Yeah. So now, one of the things, we kind of chatted briefly the day before yesterday, and one of the things we were talking about, and I was shocked to hear from you, was the ticket prices, and also what the organizers are saying about the stadium being full. What are you seeing there? And yeah, could you kind of give us some insight about what's the pricing of the tickets been like? What has been the crowd support been like in the stadium? Have the stadiums filled up?
Not so surprisingly, India matches have sold out very well. The first match in Guwahati, which was also the tournament opener, had very good crowd support. Then here in Vizag, India played South Africa and India played Australia. Australia was a sold out match. The next match against England is also sold out in indoor. South Africa match also would have been sold out, but it rained for 1.5 days before that. And now coming to ticket prices, yes, they have been very affordable. I would also say dirt cheap because they have been priced at 100 rupees. The only match where the prices have been higher is the Australia match because it was considered the biggest match of the tournament.
This is the Australia India match you're saying, or all the Australia matches?
No, just the Australia India match.
Yeah.
Where even there, the highest priced ticket was 250 rupees.
Crazy.
So it's not like you have to, shell out a
You're
lot.
paying an arm and leg. Yeah.
Yeah. And there have been there has been a lot of on ground support for India matches. But beyond that, understandably, your non-India matches have not had a lot of crowd coming to the stand, which is fair. But then it's not the only ecosystem of fans that you need to be taking a look at. For example, if you look online, ICC has been doing some absolutely brilliant content to promote the women's game, the women's cricket, and the tournament. There is a lot of buzz online thanks to them. They continuously put out. They have so with at every match venue, they have a huge team of creators who are there with their cameras and capturing everything.
There's also been a lot of trolling of the Indian women's cricket team post their losses, right? I mean, I saw some real wild content online, relegating them to the kitchen. I mean, the usual stuff, but really, I really wish these things changed.
That's one of the sad parts about the women's cricket. And that's also what I would attribute is people who come out of caves only for women's tournaments, watch something. The problem with that is that they sit and watch women's cricket thinking I needed to be at the same level as your India versus Australia men's cricket. If Kohli and Rohit Sharma and Dhoni can play like that, why can't the women? But then there is a lot of difference. The women, especially your other countries, they have a lot more resources. The women's cricket ecosystem in
Yes.
Australia is a lot more robust than in India.
Yeah, they're kind of, I mean, given the resources they have, I think also women's cricket is also fascinating and interesting because a lot of the players come from small town India, right? They come
Yes.
from very humble backgrounds. And I think it is incredible just the fact that they have, despite all limited resources, even from the government, apart from their own personal resources, like when we started this conversation, you mentioned they have to pay for a lot of things themselves.
Yes.
Which is kind of
Themselves. In fact, you speak, and I don't want to name players here, and not just in the Indian team, in the state, like lower rung also, a lot of them have to depend upon a benefactor, a mentor to, chip in and pay for like a bat. There are players who need bats that cost about 1 lakh.
right.
It's not easy for them to do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the same cost for the kits and the shoes and everything else. See, men's cricket also on the domestic circuit, there are no central contracts. It's a per match basis. But the thing there is that the men's domestic structure is a lot more robust. You have several tournaments happening throughout the year where players are
There's enough practice for them
Yes.
to actually kind
There's
of
enough
upset you.
practice. And then the access to your good rehabilitation, good training facilities. There's a center of excellence in Bengaluru.
Why isn't that kind of even shared across?
Women have it now, but the thing is, men have had it for a long time.
Right.
Right? You've had years to build on it.
Now, one of my last questions is, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the BCCI moved towards equal match fees for women and men. In fact, I was surprised when I read this. A young colleague of mine, actually told me about it. But annual contracts obviously are still kind of different for men and women. Are we kind of really, reworking the script for women's cricket, or are we still kind of stuck with women's cricket within a certain frame? And what I mean by that is, do you really feel there are big changes needed in the way women's cricket is supported? And what is happening to that end, apart from 3 years ago having match fees that are equal, which I think is a good progress, but is that enough?
Right. See, good equal match fees is a great thing, but then if you look at pure numbers, and it's never a good thing in not just in cricket but in any sport to look at pure numbers. But here, if you look at numbers wise, there are about 34 players that get central annual contracts from BCCI in men's cricket. It's about half for women, and their contracts do not have, from as far as my knowledge goes, it does not have a maternity clause.
Really?
As far as I know, I might be wrong. These contracts are not available publicly for you to check, but from what we hear, talking to players and coaches and everything else.
And when you're saying a maternity clause, you're saying that if a woman, one of the women players becomes pregnant, that she's supported through her pregnancy,
yes,
as in, kind of compensated like a corporate would.
Yes. For example, but the thing is that other teams do it, so why can't we? Your England does it. New Zealand and Australia, they offer some sort of support during this time. Even Pakistan does.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. So why not India? With the resources that BCCI has, it's the richest cricketing body in the world, far richer than ICC also. So if they can do it, why can't we? A couple of years back, if you remember, after an India-Pakistan match, one of the players who just had a baby had her kid in the dressing room, Bisma Maroof.
Yes.
So all your Indian players went to the dressing room, took selfies with the kid.
I remember that.
He was the captain back then. Now, she came back into the system very easily because of that. So that is something that is very much lacking.
And of course, since you spoke about Pakistan, the same behavior that we saw, in the Asia Cup actually carried on over here. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, not shaking hands with the Pakistani players and vice versa. Yeah.
To be honest, the only thing that carried on from Asia Cup is the no shake hands policy. But other than that, it was purely just cricket. Honestly, like with the Asia Cup.
What do you think about these kind of gestures? I mean, I know when I spoke to Vijay, he was pretty kind of categorical about it. What is your sense of it?
See, my belief is that sport and politics are two different things. Okay,
yeah.
The whole concept of sportsmanship is, you play the game according to the rules of the game, without any of this. Players are shaking hands, not shaking hands. It's not that big of a deal. And this not shaking hands thing is happening only when there are so many eyeballs on it. A hockey match recently where India and Pakistan played, it was a 3-3 draw. There were videos of players shaking hands, but then it's not broadcast in 4K for the world to see, where people are not riled up.
Yeah.
So it's not. And in the end, what matters is, okay, you have your pride, you have your I want India to win, I am an Indian. Fair enough. That's a good attitude to have. But then that is where it has to stop. You can't take politics and sit with it in a sporting arena and then voice your views according to those. So even now on social media, if you see, a lot of journalists, Pakistan played really well yesterday. You put one single tweet or a post praising Pakistan, and then there's so many people who come and hound you saying, how dare you say that? But then in the end, I'm being paid to watch sports and comment on sports.
Yeah, and you're enjoying it. Like I was watching Fatima's bowling this morning, and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, wow, fast bowlers in Pakistan are like always considered like a true match, right? Because it's almost like a culture in Pakistani cricket. What are you looking forward to in the weeks, in the coming weeks, as we head towards the finals? What is going to be exciting, and where is the finals actually going to be held?
The final is in Navi Mumbai. It's taking place in Navi Mumbai. The semifinals are happen. One semifinal is happening in Bombay, and the other one is in Guwahati.
Okay, so you will have another colleague of yours, obviously, covering that match.
Yes, one semifinal is being covered by our our Bombay correspondent Amol Karhatkar. The other semifinal and the final, we have somebody from Sportstar, Lavanya, who's going to be traveling and covering those two.
Yeah. And what are you looking forward to as part of an audience and fans who are watching this Women's Cricket World Cup? What are you looking forward to?
The first thing I'm looking forward to is the match in Indore, which I'm going to be traveling to after this.
Which is the England-India match on Sunday.
So India wins that, and there is a bit of chaos up top because England has been unbeaten so far. But then India wins, gets that bit of momentum going into New Zealand and the Bangladesh matches. Australia are playing Bangladesh today, on the day we're speaking. Bangladesh have shown that they're not pushovers.
Yeah.
So they might cause an upset. The thing is that the two set teams right now, from my point of view, are Australia and England for the semi-finals. For the last two spots, there are three teams. New Zealand, South Africa, and India. Now, obviously, I want India to go through.
Yeah.
But then the England match will tell you exactly what their fortunes are.
I hope the team's listening to your suggestions about taking Radha Yadav in. So I hope that happens.
Not the only person, even your fans are calling for the same thing. So it's not.
Yes, I'm sure that advice thing will definitely be on now for the India team, and they have to ruffle through all this chatter and clatter and figure out what's right for them. So yes. Thank you so much for educating me. I think I learned a lot. I have to watch a lot more women's cricket, and I'm certainly enjoying what I have watched so far. And fingers crossed. I hope India manages to change its tactics and rule over England in some ways on Sunday.
We'll know in 3 days.
Okay, thank you so much, Anirudh. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.